Sifter for the ear.
News, interviews, reviews, cinema, TV, streaming. Action.
Hi y'all, this is Jerry Williams, aka TV Jerry. Again this year, I was not able to host a podcast from a filmmaker at this year's Pocahontas Reframed Festival, but it is running from November 22nd through 24th at the Museum of History and Culture and the VMFA. I'll have a link on the webpage for this show at tvjerry.com. Speaking of festivals, you may have noticed that there was no Africana festival this year. Founder Anjali Moon told me that they're taking a year off to come back better for the 10th anniversary.
It's just going to play, and we have the message boards alive right there. People can leave comments there, and we can talk, and we can communicate, and we can just have fun for those 21 minutes.
That was filmmaker Joe Carabeo talking about the viewing party that's planned to premiere his new short, Kira vs. Everyone, via YouTube. We'll hear about that and much more about creating this first film in a hopeful series. Joining Joe will be his longtime collaborator and gaffer, Brian Sarvis, and the actor who played Senator Black, Ulysses Campbell.
Sifter Review of the Week.
Disclaimer on Apple TV+. Cate Blanchett plays a journalist who suddenly finds her marriage and career in jeopardy when a stranger, Kevin Kline, publishes a novel that parallels a scandalous event in her life. Alfonso Cuarón has written and directed this series, so there's an undeniable gravitas in the presentation, with some unique perspectives. It helps to understand that the voiceover is in 3 voices. First person is for Kline's character, second person for Blanchett's, and third person for everyone else. The performances are dark, as are many of their situations. There are some undeniably powerful moments, and the seduction scenes are especially juicy. While there is continual intense foreboding and an art film quality to the production, the series is also slow, self-important, and not as shocking or emotionally powerful as it promises. I gave Disclaimer 3 out of 5 stars. So I got 3 people on the podcast today. I've got Joe Carabeo back for a second time, Brian Sarvis back for a second time, and Ulysses Campbell for the first time. They're all here to talk about Kira versus Everyone. Welcome back, you guys, and welcome for the first time, Ulysses.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
As I'm sure Brian and Joe remember, we talked in December of 2023, and we talked about a lot of the other stuff that y'all have done, and then you mentioned that Kira was coming out, and here we are. It's ready to go. So what happened between December and now?
When we last talked, Kira vs. Everyone was actually still in the middle of its festival run. At that point, I'll be honest with you, I actually thought it was going to be, that was it. I was like, okay, cool. 1 year of putting Kira vs. Everyone in the festivals. I'm tired already. Let's, maybe it's time to wrap it up. And here we are, pretty much almost a year later, November 18, we're finally releasing it. It's time to, I guess, share it with the world. Is that what this is? Instead of just the festival audience?
Yeah. Just want to make sure I'm clear on this. This is a series, not a feature film.
We'd like to say, hopefully, we can make this into a series. But they all say this.
Of course,
but,
yeah. Right.
You know, I feel like this story is ready to be catapulted. With so much, I was talking to Brian with this. He was like, Joe, we can make so many stories with Kira. It could be Kira versus anything, pretty much.
So I just assumed that the way it ended, that, okay, she's going to go on to exact her revenge to these people later on. So the next episodes will continue this story. Each one won't be its own thing.
It will continue in the world of this story, yes.
One of the things I noticed right up front, and I'm sure you've never been asked this question before, all of the characters have color names, which of course everybody said, wait a minute, Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino, there was no Mr. Black in Reservoir Dogs. Was that your inspiration, or why did you choose to give them color names knowing that that had been done?
I'd like to give a new take on this story because I've done a lot of press and I've done a lot of Q&As, and they always pull out like, oh, the Reservoir Dogs or the Tarantino thing. And I'm not going to shy away from it. I grew up on Tarantino. I grew up on noir and crime. And I actually like to blame this aesthetic on the fact that I'm not the best at creating names. So, like, my name is Joe. This is as far as my creativity really goes. But I started thinking about, like, the importance of names. It's like once we give people a name, that does sort of define their character. And much like, you know, I come from a comic book background. I love the use of actual color, and if we can give them a color that can also, and that supports their name, that can be a motivation for what their character can be or where they come from, and use their name, you know, as a device.
Well, now that's interesting because Mr. Black, who is the senator, Black is usually insinuates a dark, evil character. Ulysses, what do you got to say for yourself?
Well, first, I consider myself extremely fortunate to have been involved with this project. And I've known Joe for a number of years now, both him and his wife, Carolyn, incredibly creative partnership that the two of them have. And I had secretly been, well, maybe not so secretly, because I'd say something to Joe every now and again, but I had been hoping to work with him on a project for some time. And so when he reached out to me with this, I was just over the moon. I was so excited at the opportunity. And then when he sent me the script and I had the chance to read about this Senator Horace Black, who is a black-hearted devil, this guy, and, a lot of mystery. In fact, it's funny because when Joe said earlier about Kira exacting her revenge, I had to bite my tongue because I wanted to say, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
We'll just see about that because, this guy seems pretty formidable and, clearly has his hooks into Kira in ways that even she doesn't comprehend. And so, as a creative and as the person portraying this particular character, I would always lobby for this guy being, the Lex Luthor, the Joker, the Doctor Doom,
Right.
who you just can't get rid of, because he's just too great. He's two steps ahead of everybody.
Plus, as an actor, you want to keep the role going for you. Don't kill me off.
There you go. There's a practical element to it also.
Yeah. So, Brian, I know you've been involved with Joe for a long time. What was your involvement on Kira?
I was the gaffer on Kira versus everyone. So I just helped create the look with Cooney, the DP, and of course with Joe. Obviously, it was a tight budget because it was, a short film. But like me and Joe always do, we just get down and do it. And I think we created a nice dark look to the film.
I noticed in one scene, let me just ask you this while we're on that. It was in a parking deck, and I'm going to ask you, Joe, about that because obviously that makes your life a little easier because you don't have to worry about the environment. How many of those lights were practical? Because I assume the ones in the ceiling were already there and you just had to augment those. I know there was like some blue light and red light, and those aren't normally in a parking deck.
Yeah, I mean, most of the lights that were there were already there. We just adjusted camera to balance to those lights. And then we had a bunch of smaller little fixtures and some point source fixtures to create like long throw with the blue lights and stuff like that, just to augment what was there. And then obviously like scenes in the stairwell where we did some red light, created some like nice silhouette action when she got in and grabbed the guy. Those were all just nice little lighting gags to add drama to the character and to the scene.
Red and blue, those colors, you don't normally see red lights flashing on and off in a stairwell other than the dramatic effect of that. Was there any kind of practical reasoning for that, or did you say, oh, this will look cool to have it going off and on and being red?
Well, it's a mixture of both of those, really. We rented out pretty much a whole entire garage deck, like all 3 floors of a garage deck. The fun story is that this garage deck, it's been around, since high school, since I've been a kid. And I always went down to that bottom level in which we filmed at. And I always thought, this is super scary. This is like where drug addicts hang out. This is where like bad things happen. And of course, post-pandemic, when I want to get down and dirty, that's the location I chose. I really love the idea of lighting being a character. Usually this parking garage is actually super well lit.
We took a lot of stuff away just to create contrast. And it's funny, Joe talked about that parking garage and being dingy and dark because during the middle of our shooting, a bunch of kids, like a gang of kids came down on bicycles. Remember that?
Yeah.
We found like all this stuff in one of the parking garages up top, like hidden. It must be where these kids would go to party and drink or whatever and hang out.
Well, I'm assuming you rented the whole deck just so you didn't have to worry about noise upstairs and cars and all that, right?
Oh, yeah.
When they came down and they had all their bikes in a line and they were face to face with the film crew in our gear. This thing, it was like a showdown. It was like, who's going to act first? Like, we already had several killings on the set, like fake killings.
Right.
So in between the bikers and us, it's just this pile of blood on the ground. On the same subject of the lighting, I have several garages near me that now have flickering red and blue lights.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's also about creating a world, right? because
Yeah.
we're not in the real world. So you can create whatever lighting to create an atmosphere, to create a world that you want, just like Ridley Scott does with his movies and things like that. So,
And that was really fun too, because it was another musical element, because the pacing of the lights that we used became a rhythm of how we were telling the story too. You know, we're giving away a secret now, but like it's the heartbeat. Lighting becomes heartbeat.
oh yeah.
Oh, now there are a lot of fights in this. And Joe, I know you started doing fight videos way back when you were in high school. We talked about that in the previous podcast, but you had a fight choreographer on this one. So talk about that whole process of working those fights out. Did you give him any advice? Did you just say you do it and you just shot it, or how did that work?
I guess it's no question now that I started in backyard wrestling and pro wrestling, and I was a director and a cinematographer for pro wrestling and filming that. And I thought it would be interesting, you know, first time, let's work with one of the fight choreographers that I've seen in our Virginia area that I've always wanted to work with, Leroy Nguyen. And it was fun to see Leroy choreograph this fight, because a lot of them are sort of like, you know, they like the kung fu.
Right.
And what I liked about Leroy was like, you know, man, I want this grounded. I want this ground and pound. And also we could talk pro wrestling at the same time, which is obviously a key thing.
I did notice this, and I'm pretty sure I know why, but I'm going to ask it because it was pretty obvious. All of the violence, the actual real violent stuff, is either off camera or you don't see it, even if it's out of focus. I'm assuming that's intentional because implied violence is usually more interesting or more compelling than seeing the real thing.
It's actually a motif throughout the whole entire film where it's a constant reveal. Like as we go through the film, things get more in focus, things get wider. As the world opens up, we get to see more. So things get revealed. So it's a constant reveal and reveal.
So let me ask, I'm going to ask all three of this, but I'm going to start with you, Ulysses. What was the biggest challenge for you? You mostly just got to or had to sit in that car. So how many days was that? And what was the challenge for you?
There wasn't enough sitting in the car, quite frankly, because that parking garage was freezing.
Oh,
Okay?
wow. Oh, okay.
I wish I could have sat in the car for like the whole 3 days that we were shooting.
You were outside the car for the third day of filming.
Don't remind me. Good gracious.
So what was the biggest challenge for you?
I think probably the challenge that I struck was the fact of I'd like communication on set and just making sure everyone is communicating as best and being on the same page. That's always a goal for me to have.
Right.
But I wouldn't actually say this was a challenging. This comes to me and Brian, and if Cooney was here, I didn't. What do you think it was hard, Brian?
The only hard parts for me personally, from a lighting standpoint, was I don't have enough guys, which all happens. Second, we're in a parking garage, and since we're limited on gear, you can't run a generator in a parking garage,
I
right?
was just about to ask you that. You can't run a Jenny, so you're going to have some long extension cords, I guess.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of outlets in a parking deck.
No, exactly. So power was an issue. You know, we figured it out. That was probably my main issue, and just being understaffed. It wasn't difficult to me. It seemed like a normal thing that we do, you know?
We've talked about it earlier at the beginning. This is going to be a series, and you've got the first one locked. What's going to make the decision on when you move forward on this?
I don't know. I feel like this is the type of world that I can just keep on going. And it's not only that, but like the simple fact that I work in comic books, I work in music, I work in film, that this character can be taken anywhere and continue the story. Even though this is a simple revenge story, I think I still said so much with what little dialogue or what motivations I put in there. And I have so much more that I want to say. And I feel like Kira is such an awesome voice to have that can stand for different things.
So on November 18th, you're having a YouTube viewing party. Tell us what the deal is with that.
I have never done, you know, a watch along, and I think it's so many people. I've even watched on Ulysses. I would stalk his message boards, and everyone's like, "When is it coming online?" And that's probably just how the audience is these days. They want to see it and have a watch party online or do it like that. And I thought it'd be fun.
What will be the situation? It will just be everybody signs into that at that hour and watches that at the same time. Are they going to be able to communicate? Are you going to be on camera at all, like doing a Q&A, or is it just going to be the 20-minute viewing and then everything's done?
Well, that was a question where someone asked me, like, after the screening, should I do another Q&A, like a live Q&A post doing that and have Brian Sarvis tell the story? Sorry.
Right.
What's going to happen is, you can literally just tune in. You can go to Stray Productions. You can go to joecarabeo.com, because I have it set up where you can just click it and you'll be able to play it live at that time. it's just going to play, and we have the message boards alive right there. People can leave comments, but you can see who's there, and we can talk, and we can communicate, and we can just have fun for those 21 minutes and just keep it going. And if they really want me to go and have a have another like a live Q&A directly afterwards, I'm ready to stream whenever anyone else is.
There you go. What's next that we can mention that we can talk about in another year when it's released?
Let's put it this way. There's always something in the pipeline. It's just a matter of what we choose to film or what we're able to film at that time. So there's so many factors that are involved that kind of determine what you end up filming sometimes. We have so many stories that we want to do that we haven't done yet. But actors, life, things happen. So sometimes you got to put that one on side and work on a different one, So it's hard to say which one's going to be next.
But also, we can definitely talk about all three of us, Brian, all part of Station 33.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Indeed.
That's out live right now.
What's that?
So if everyone right now who's watching this can go to station33.site.
Yeah.
And there's a video that says part 1. Press part 1. And then that will lead you on a journey. We wanted to try something a little bit different with just how we release films and how we even structure things. So instead of like giving you like Hero vs. Everyone, that's like this big 20-minute thing. Let's take it back and give you those web-sized cinematic videos that you follow a character and see what happens. Brian was the gaffer on that, and Ulysses was also a main player on that as well. And it was fun to just play in that type of medium. What's really cool about, and it's awesome that Brian's here, and how this stretches back to Brian and I's history of filmmaking, that these actually have very, like Hero vs. Everyone, has similar elements to our very first, I guess, feature film or featurette film, The Madcap 3.
Yeah.
We have a main car, right? We have a whole bunch of, I guess, hired, like killers or security people.
Yeah.
It centers around a single location. So it's fun to make movies with Brian like that still.
Before we take off here, I'll give each one of you a chance to say a little farewell. Anything about the show or about the experience you want to mention that you haven't had a chance to? Ulysses, you want to kick it off?
Well, thank you very much for that. Yeah, there's always a whole lot of stuff that you could elaborate on. And I just encourage people to find out more about the work of this incredible filmmaker, Joe Carabeo, and his Astray Productions, because he's an incredibly talented individual and somebody who is interested in helping to promote filmmaking regionally in the District, Maryland, and Virginia area. I refuse to call it the DMV because that's where you get your driver's license.
The first time I heard that phrase, I'm like, what are they talking about with basketball? I feel you on that one.
Thank you. Yeah, that's, it's like I feel like old guys of the world unite on that one. But
exactly, yeah.
I'm very excited about the prospects, particularly for where Kira can go. And the future of independent television and filmmaking is going to be people who are able to get something in the can that they can then sell. A whole lot of studios, like the idea of something, but when it comes to them actually ponying up to produce it, they balk. But if you have something that is finished and, something beyond proof of concept, but you're like, hey, there's this, and all you need to do is pay me to acquire it. Right. That's the point at which you just got to make sure that your ask is high enough so they don't really know what you actually spent on it.
Brian, how about you?
Well, I think everybody should go watch Station 33 so they can be a part of the new adventure. I'm personally looking forward to see what's going to happen with the next installment of Kira versus Everyone. Because like Joe said, it's all about the characters, You can create some good characters. Everybody wants to follow it and see what's going on. You can get a good following, of viewers and people that get into those characters. And then you can have fun as the writer, as the filmmaker, taking those characters and put them into crazy situations and seeing what happens. So I'm looking forward to it. Just glad Joe's making movies and we're both making movies and having fun doing it.
Joe, you want to wrap it up for us?
So the one thing I always try to mention is that Kira vs. Everyone, it's promoted as a revenge film. And it's the first revenge film that I've ever made. And I've always tried to decipher what exactly is a revenge film, right? And what I did find out is that, sad to say, that revenge is one of the most universal story devices of all.
Yeah, right.
there's a revenge against someone. There's a revenge against your old self. It's the idea of taking something back. And I feel like when I watched Kira vs. Everyone the other day, I was like, so what is Kira vs. Everyone? It's a movie about taking something back, about maybe taking something back that you lost, or also it could also be about really coming to fruition about what is important to you. When people watch Kira vs. Everyone, I want them to think about like what is important to them. Hopefully that's something really to think about. It's what is important to them, and it's important for us to tell these stories, but everyone has something that's important and they should hold on to that.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for doing this, and good luck on the 18th, and good luck with the next projects. I'm sure I'll have you back on again.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jerry.
Jerry, I will look forward to it, and I really appreciate you having included me in this discussion.
That was filmmaker Joe Carabeo, his longtime collaborator and gaffer Brian Sarvis, and the actor who played Senator Black, Ulysses Campbell. They were talking about Joe's new film, Kira vs. Everyone. I'll have a link to the YouTube premiere and other links on the webpage for this show at tvjerry.com.
Coming soon. In theaters.
Red One. The title refers to the code name for Santa Claus, and this comedy teams up Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans to find the kidnapped Claus. A Real Pain. Jesse Eisenberg wrote, directed, and stars in this film, along with Karen Culkin, as cousins who visit Poland to honor their grandmother. Bird. This is the next film for Barry Cogan as Bug, the skater father who's raising 2 kids in Kent. Bonhoeffer. Pastor, Spy, Assassin. This is based on the real man who joins a plot to assassinate Hitler.
TV and streaming.
Dune Prophecy on Max. This is set 10,000 years before the other stories and features Emily Watson and Olivia Williams. Landman on Paramount Plus. Yellowstone creator Taylor Sheridan moves to Texas to look at the lives of blue-collar oil workers and the executives who employ them, starring Billy Bob Thornton and John Hamm. Hard Knocks on Max, a behind-the-scenes look at the Chicago Bears training camp. Making Manson on Peacock, a new documentary on the notorious killer that includes new phone recordings of him while incarcerated. Leonardo da Vinci on VPM and PBS, the latest doc from Ken Burns about the famous painter. Say Nothing on Disney+. This series follows the Troubles in Northern Ireland through 4 decades. The Merry Gentleman on Netflix. A musical rom-com follows a big city dancer, Brick Robertson, who stages an all-male Christmas revue to save her parents' small-town bar. Cruel Intentions